It is officially afternoon, and I want to welcome everybody on this beautiful day to the Brentwood Rotary Club. I am not Jane Covington. She is out of town, and I am honored to be able to stand in her place today. This morning. Thank you. Not forgotten. Okay. The invocation today will be given by Sid Smith, and our Pledge of Allegiance and four-way test are going to be by Norris Johnson.
Rotary is a family. We keep up with each other. This morning I have a special request for Larry Kane's wife, Sue Kane. She's having very serious surgery on Tuesday. Sue Kane, if you would bow with me. Dear God, we thank you for the association of this club. Very different walks of life, very different occupations by design. We enjoy the company, the association, things that will get accomplished. Be with us, keep us safe, and keep us healthy. We thank you for the time that we have together here. Bless this food and nourish our bodies and us to your service. Help us to be good Americans, but also to be good God-fearing people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic and the nation. Now the four-way test of things we think, say, and do. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Secretary Steve Hammers. Got anybody here?
As of now, we have no visitors.
All right.
There is one.
Okay. Sybil, you doing Happy Bucks today for us? Yeah.
Hey, who's happy? Who's happy? Who's paying attention?
Right. More than that.
Hello, is anyone happy today? Curry, where's Curry? Hey, Curry.
Jack Masuri's birthday is next week, and he is one of my older friends.
Very good. Anyone else? Who's happy? Oh, our guest speaker today is happy.
Thank y'all for letting me speak today. And I was told by my wife that I had to donate Happy Bucks, so there we go.
And anyone else?
As you'll recall, Teresa's president of the morning club. So
Anyone else?
Zach.
Right, Zach. Zach's always happy.
I'm very happy. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy. I'm really excited about life right now. Even my challenges are really good. I think that life always tries to teach me, and God tries to teach me something. One thing that I heard recently, and I like to just share it with everybody, is I invite you all to think of the worst day you've ever had. And then at the end of that day, if I would give you a check and I would ask you to write a number on that check that I would pay you not to wake up the next day, would there be a number that you would ever want to write on there? Because 150,000 people did not wake up today. So even if you have the worst day ever, tomorrow and you wake up, it's another shot at making it a lot better. So enjoy the challenges you have, because it's just an opportunity for growth.
All right.
Very, very profound. Thank you, Zach. Anyone else? Anyone else over here? There's no one happy in this side of the room? No one? No one. Michael, you must be happy. Gee, yeah, right. Yeah.
He's happy, but
We'll
he
start
doesn't
a
have
telephone
All
here.
right.
Anyone?
Nobody else? All right, thank you
All
so much.
right, Alan, we can always count on Alan, Betsy.
All right, speaking of
Wait,
happy
wait, wait.
bucks. Oh, Alan, way to go.
You know, I'm excited about the Super Bowl, and I'm even more excited we don't have to hear about the Buffalo Bills anymore.
Oh.
So mean. And where did you pay for that? That's $20 anyway.
Civil the enforcer.
Cruel. He's cruel. Well, it wasn't $20, but okay. Is that it?
All
I
right,
guess
thank you,
so.
Sybil. Appreciate you. And speaking of happy bucks, I'm going to ask J&J crew to come up here, Jordan and Jody, because they have a challenge for us, which is going to be great.
All right. Hey, everybody. Jane asked us to come and speak to y'all today, February 17th. Does anybody know what day that is? Anybody? It is worldwide. Friday, February 17th is Worldwide Random Acts of Kindness Day. And so our club is going to be doing some service that day surrounding just kindness and simple things like Lee Williams is not with us today, but we're going to be doing we've got cards that we can give to patients. We will also be working with Jordan and Morning Point and Brentwood. And at 2 o'clock after our meeting that day, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be gathering money and we're going to have an ice cream social for the residents and surprise them with a party that afternoon. So just be on the lookout. If we ask you for a few dollars, it's not going to cost that much, but we also would love that as many Rotarians as would like to come. Jordan would love to have you.
Yes, please. That's really it. Our residents love ice cream, so there's nothing more that will get them out of their rooms and come out to talk to you and hang out. But it's just the simple act of being there, the joy that is in not only ice cream, but having other people from our community to be a part of what we do is fantastic for us. So I hope you all will be able to join. Thank you guys.
So happy bucks from now until February 17th. Ice cream. So you can do more random acts of kindness by every time you put something in that basket. That's a random act of kindness. Franklin, speaking for kindness, we're going from that to butts. Franklin Noon has pork butts for sale again this year. And for all of you who want to have a nice Super Bowl party, these pork butts are supposed to be really great on nachos if you take them and tear them apart, right? So they have a way that you can pick up your pork butts on February the 11th, but you need to order them by the 3rd. What they do is it's a good project for their club in that they want to cook 250 butts. They want to sell half of them, and the other half, for every one you buy, they will give one to somebody that doesn't have any food, basically, someone who needs that. So it's a good altruistic program. The cost is $50 per butt. So if y'all are interested in that, I've got the information on that. But Jeff Brasher from that club asked us to see what we could do, so be aware of that. By the way, they feed 18 to 20 people per butt to give you a size of the butt. Patrick.
I have a golf tournament that they could help us with. So if we reciprocate, I'd like to know it. So just if y'all would keep me posted if you do the $50, just so I'll know. Thank you.
Very quickly, Little Harpeth is here. It's tomorrow. Looks like we're going to have the best day we've had in a few weeks, and maybe the best day we're going to have for a few weeks. Thanks be to God. I got all the supplies. I got lots of people coming if they all show up. For those of you who've signed up, I think I've reached out to you this week. If you're just dying to come out now that it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow and help herd cats or help me explain to people where things are in Brentwood that I don't necessarily know, that'd be great. I think we've got pretty good coverage for the sections. Plenty of folks to sign in. The Krispy Kremes are back. So if that gets you out of bed, then come on down. Any questions, please see me. For those of you who indicated you wanted to lead a section, if you want to see me right after, I've already started penciling in some names based on the difficulty of the section and those types of things. Can kind of give you an idea of which ones, which areas we'll ask you to cover. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you and your committee, Patrick. It's going to be gorgeous tomorrow. It's going to be dry tomorrow. The snakes aren't out yet. There's no reason not to come help, all right? All right, Sybil, you want to introduce our speaker?
Our speaker today is Tim Beard, who is in his 42nd year of officiating and teaching. In 1979, Tim began with the Middle Tennessee Football Officials Association, followed by the Mid-South Conference, Ohio Valley Conference, the Sun Belt Conference, and finally 16 years in the Southeastern Conference, from which he recently retired as a line judge. His officiating resume includes 1 high school championship, 8 postseason NCAA playoff games and 1 national championship game, 12 postseason bowl games, and 1 SEC championship. Tim is also a past recipient of the Art Demis Outstanding Official Award. As a firm believer in mentoring young officials, Tim is an instructor at several college and high school clinics, where he works with them to improve their on-field skills. Tim is also the publisher of New Nolensville Town Life magazine, a local lifestyle magazine mailed to 7,000 homes in the Nolensville area. And he's very familiar with Rotary, as his wife, Teresa Beard, is the current president of the Rotary Club of Brentwood Morning Club. Please join me in welcoming Tim Beard.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Since I'm retired, used to, I'd tell everybody either this half of the room cheer and this half of the room boo, but now that everybody can just boo at me, and I got to make sure that I stay still because I understand we're on camera and I'm a wanderer, so I'm kind of letting lanes though that may happen. First of all, let me tell you, football officiating has changed over the years. It has become and this button right here, advance, okay. Normally, as a college football official, their week normally starts on Sunday, evaluating where they were that week. And then on Monday, they're usually doing film view, going over all their calls that they made. And then on usually Tuesday or Wednesday, they get a film grade back in from the SEC, grading them on everything. So think of this. You're at work today and you've got 16 cameras following you all day long. And every time you mess up, there's somebody there with a clipboard marking it down for you. Okay. That's what it is to be evaluated the way we are. I mean, it's everything from mechanics, where you are, how you handle interacting with coaches, where you were position wise, the calls you made, whether they were correct, incorrect, marginal, things like that. So all of them are graded out. And then come Thursday, usually that was the night we packed. Friday, we travel. And then usually Friday night, we had a 4-hour meeting on Friday night talking about, we were doing evaluation. We do a scout film of each team. And then Saturday morning, we get up for probably another hour and a half meeting. And then after that, we usually get in a little van and takes us to the stadium. Well, first slide I want to show you. There we go. We have a clinic every year, and in that clinic's where we learn new rules and all that stuff. I wish I could tell you new rules because right now it's all in a committee deciding whether they're going to make new rule changes this year or not. So I have no idea. But we have a meeting every year, and it's in Birmingham. There used to be a 1.5 mile run, which I'm so glad they did away with that. I see some of you guys are probably avid runners, and man, more power to you. I just laugh at you as I drive by. I said, look, they're running because they want to, not because they have to. I just don't get it, but that's all right. When you have to do it, it means makes you wonder about why you have to do it. But you guys that run on your own, more power to you. Then that's normally during the preseason. And then once we get ready to leave the stadium or leave the hotel going to the stadium, if you've ever been to LSU or Tennessee or Alabama, traffic is crazy. Well, fortunately for us, we never had to worry about that They had a bus or a van, or in this case at LSU, we were in paddy wagon type vehicles from the sheriff's department. Bar, the whole 9 yards. But they literally shut down the interstate for us to go through. When we get close to the stadium, we would literally go through if traffic's going down the right side, we literally went down the left side with police escort taking us right to the stadium. And then when the game's over, very much the same thing. We're probably in the van headed back before most of the patrons are able to get up out of their seat and gather their coats. I mean, they get us out of there pretty quick. Oops. The next ones I want to show you are just some footage of, I know there's Alabama fans, Tennessee fans, Georgia fans. So these next two are just, you can see, I probably had the best view in the house. And I was a line judge. If you don't know the positions, there's a referee. He wears the white hat. He's supposed to be the most knowledgeable. Don't believe it. And then there's an umpire that's right behind the linebackers on the defensive side. Now there's a center judge who is back in the backfield with the referee. Then there's two end men, which is a line judge and a headline judge, which used to be a head linesman, but because of all the women coming in and making it more palatable, now it's a headline judge instead of headlines. And then there's two deep wings on the sideline, and they're the field judge and the side judge. Then there's a back judge that works in the very back. He's kind of like the center fielder, if you think of it that way. There's another shot. And like I say, they asked me, they said, you're not that fast. I go, I know, but I know where to be and how to get there quick. And most of the time, running backs, they're running through people. I've just got a straight line down the sideline. So I can usually do a pretty good job. Now this is, everybody remembers, I think, big NFL player now, but this was the Tennessee game, and this was just before he blew his knee out in that ball game. And you can see I'm right behind him, and I've had several players in my officiating career that I've been right beside them when they were hurt. And it's you see stuff on TV like the Bills game the other day, and it just kind of makes you think. But these guys, when they go down, and somebody asked me, was he screaming and all that? And I said, no, really and truly, it was I think it's the shock of being injured like that they really are very calm when stuff like that happens. Now, some of my favorite things, coaches. Now, I used to tell people when I would speak at Rotaries that, because I was still active, and there were some things that I'd say, look, if you ask a question, and we'll have a section for questions after I get through it. I always tell people, say, look, if I refuse to answer, just remember, it's just because I've kind of been instructed, do not mention stuff like that. But I'm a little more freer now, but we'll try to keep it civil. So these are some of the coaches that we've seen. Some of them you've seen. Urban Meyer. This was back when he was at Florida. Social media. Oh boy, what a joy. And I was never a social media fan. And now I publish a magazine, and I've become social media. My wife laughs at me. She goes, you would never do stuff like that. I said, hey, I and what I do now, I have to. But just stuff like this. I mean, there was all kinds of things you'd see that would pop up social media wise about you. Of course, this is my buddy at UT. And this is one of the nicer photos I have of Coach Jones. I've got another one, and he's on his tippy toes, his fist doubled up. And I think he was asking me what time it was, but I'm not sure. Of course, when we're on the sideline, I am the closest thing to them. So no matter if something happens on the other side of the field, I'm the one that's getting the yeah. That's a very nice way of putting it. Now, Coach Muschamp, this was when he was head coach at Florida, and he and I have a real good history together. In fact, I actually worked a high school game this year because the high school association were actually having, and it was Baylor and Ensworth. And so I'm standing over there on the sideline, and I was actually worked a deep wing. I didn't work my normal position. And I'm standing there, and I get this, I feel something being thrown from the stands at me. And Coach Muschamp's son is the quarterback at Baylor. So I get this, and I look around, and he's over there looking at me going, "What are you doing here?" But this was this game. And of course, you know, he and I had some run-ins. This is when he was at Auburn. And now he's just an assistant coach here. He's just an assistant. And this was the Alabama-Auburn game. And I just got through flagging him for 15 yards on a play where we had a late hit out of bounds on Alabama's driving to kick the field goal. So they have a late hit on the quarterback out of bounds, and he's out the middle of the field yelling at me. So I flag him. So now they get 15 yards for the late hit, and they get 15 more because him being on the field, and they end up kicking field goal after that. So Coach Muschamp was really not happy with me. Now, people ask me all the time, say, who was the worst coach of all your officiating that you've had? That's him. But there's a great story about him. For those who know, my daughters played golf at Brentwood High and then went and played at Lipscomb at the university. And when they were in junior golf, he had a daughter that was in junior golf, the same age as my oldest daughter. And so we had an Arkansas game, and Coach Petrino was out there, and he is raising Cain about a call that we had a pass. He wanted grounding, and we didn't get it. So he's hollering at me to go tell Tom Ritter, who was my referee. He said, "Go tell Ritter I want to talk to him." I said, "Okay, coach, calm down." So we were down around the 10-yard line. So he's back up at the 25. So I had to walk all the way back up there. So as I'm walking down, he's back there standing on the sideline with his hands on his hips, just watching. Well, Ritter and the umpire are standing at the 10-yard line, and I'm probably about 10 yards from him. And I hear this, "Tell him I ain't coming." I said, "Okay." So I just turn around. I go right back to him like I'm gonna go. And I said, "Coach," he said, "He ain't coming, is he?" I said, "No, coach, take a nap." And I turned and walked all the way back. So he complained about that call for 2.5 quarters in my ear every time I'm on the sideline, you know, saying, "Gutless, I can't believe you didn't tell him to come over and talk." I mean, just all this stuff. They finally get the lead. There's like 2 minutes to go. It was a TV game, so media timeouts and TV are horrible. So I'm standing down there, and I see him coming down. I'm going, "Come on, coach, we got 2 minutes left. Let it go." So he gets down beside me, and he's standing there, and he puts his arms like this, and he looks at me, and he said, "You know, what a great night for football, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And then he looked at me and goes, "How's your daughter's golf game?" I said, "Well, she's doing all right." I said, "I think she's going to play at Lipscomb." And he said, I said, "What about yours?" He said, "Well, you know," he said, she could have come here on a full ride. She's going to Louisville instead. Can you figure that out?" I go, "Not really." But I'm sitting there. I told my wife I got back, and she said, "Well, did you tell him that probably she didn't want to be around him either?" And I said, "Well, I didn't have the heart to tell him that in the middle of the game. He'd been yelling at me the whole time." This right here, I don't know, you may be able to have to do it with the mouse. There's a little cursor at the bottom that you can click, turn on. This is kind of what happens to us in ball games. Sometimes it's a little thing with a play there, right here. Yeah, it should play. Okay, well, that's all right. Anyway, this is a play in an Alabama game, and we have a play on the sideline. It's close to a first down, and we do what's called crossfield mechanics. So in crossfield mechanics, it's like if I'm running down here and I get pushed back, Nathan's on the other side. Nathan sees that the spot's right there. Nathan's going to come in. I'm going to line up with Nathan because he's got a better angle at it because I got moved back. So with that being said, he looks over and spots the ball. Well, in this case, he happens to bobble the ball.
as he's getting ready to spot it. And it's close to a first down. His original spot was short. As he's putting the ball down, he bobbles it. It ends up, he moves up a little bit to spot it down. Referee comes over and gives a first down. It's actually short. This was before replay. And so this played out on social media and news media all the time. And they're cheating for Alabama again type thing. And it was really just a fluke thing that happened. But that stuff like that happens all the time. Now, this is an example of what we try to do, and it is station. People ask me, say, well, why aren't you at the goal line? Well, I can tell you by looking at this picture, because of mechanics, that this ball was snapped outside the 7-yard line. I know because I know where I'm at. We have two officials on the sideline. One is responsibility is the goal line, and the other is the field of play. So when we get down inside the 7, then it becomes my goal line. But outside the 7, it's his goal line. And all I'm doing is coming down. My one responsibility is the sideline and the goal line to make sure that he doesn't step out of bounds. And that's why when you see, usually there'll be a score and you'll see the guy at the goal line, he'll look down because he's looking down to get a nod from the end man coming down, telling him that he didn't step out of bounds. So it's a mechanic thing that we do. All right. Fun part of the day. How much time we got left? Oh, we got plenty of time. Who has the first question? Now, wait a minute, before we start, did everybody send Ray Little the memo that we were talking football today? Ray's a good friend. I wouldn't throw him under the bus, but
so I have two. One, has any fans ever got your phone number or sent you mail that's not so nice? And then two, I've always been impressed with the umpires staying out of the way. Is there a lot of training with that to know I need to move in this case or that, or is it just kind of they feel it?
you know, most of the people that are in a position that they work in the ball games were when they played, they were doing something similar to that. So most of the umpires were either linemen in school or a linebacker or something. So they kind of know what to do. But if you're talking about an official that gets hit more than anybody, it's a good friend of mine, Russ Pulley. He's the councilman over in Green Hills. Russ gets hit more than anybody I know. But Russ is a big guy. But the umpires usually, if anybody's going to get hit, they get hit the most because they're officiating and you got a running back coming through the line. He's trying to find a gap. He gets to a gap. The umpires are usually watching their key, the center and the two guards. And usually when that opens up, he's in position to look and right in the way. That, or you got a lot of coaches now running pass routes where they're actually running by the umpire to get a pick to open up the receiver.
What's your favorite stadium to ref in?
Great question. And it depends on the time of day. There's no doubt a night game at LSU is probably the best. If you've never been on your bucket list, you need to say, whether you're an LSU fan or not, you need to go down there and get there early enough to do the tailgating. They start at 6 a.m. for a 7:30 kickoff. And you walk through there and they've got the gumbo pots going and they got alligators all over the place. And it is a big party. Probably some of the other games, like an afternoon game at Tuscaloosa or Auburn or South Carolina. I mean, and then there's nothing like A&M for their pageantry that they do. They were a great fit coming into the SEC, and of course UT now that they've been winning, they're up there is a great environment now too.
This may not be a fair question, and if you think it's not fair, just throw a flag and I'll move back 5 yards for a legal procedure. How much do umpires pay per game, and do you get travel?
Not enough.
I knew that, but
No, but all right, I'll give you now.
usually now you mean, you want to know SEC wise or probably where you got a high school guy who's getting yelled at a lot more than I do on a Saturday, and he's probably making $105 for his ball game. But you get, to us, we do get it's just a flat rate for us in our travel and hotel and all that's included into that flat rate. So it's somewhere in the neighborhood between $400 and $4,600, something like that. Depending on, where you are travel wise, sometimes you get a little bit more for being further away and things like that.
I have a two-part question. One, when like you see a game that's going to be a blowout and it starts getting ugly, like 50 points, you guys kind of swallow your whistle in that moment, to just kind of get the mercy, get it over with. And the second part is, how come you never see a pass interference called on a Hail Mary? Because they're jockeying, and is that kind of another,
Good
we don't want to
question.
decide that game.
Good question. The first part of that is, let's see how the best way to put it. What was it? The first part again was just. Yeah. All right. So,
Like the Georgia game.
yeah. Normally we do have what's called time and score. Okay. I know in high school, when you get to a certain point, they have a running clock. With us, there's no running clock because we're NCAA football, SEC, Big 10, Big 12 are all governed by TV. Don't let them fool you. ESPN and the way they rule things, they control it. When media timeouts, things like that. That's the reason if you're watching that CBS game on Saturday, God, this game is taking forever because CBS are in control of it. It's a little better now than it used to be, but usually it's time and score. We'll look at it, and if anything that's flagrant, safety related, they're going to call. They're going to call that. But if it's some little something like maybe a hold on a 2-yard run, probably late in the game, probably not going to call that. They'll probably go in because at that point everybody's ready to go. You got the winning team, they don't want to get anybody hurt. The losing team, they're just ready to go. And when you get some of those games like, and I'm not picking on them or anything, but just for instance, you get somebody like Austin Peay playing Alabama. Austin Peay, once it's halftime, they're ready to go. They got their money. They got the money. They're ready to go. So with that part of it, the second part was, Hail Marys. The way it's officiated is, if you think of this, if I'm throwing it up for grabs, it's a jump ball. So unless somebody literally goes in and grabs somebody and throws them down, everybody's making an attempt to go up, arms grabbing and all that, they're going to let that go. But if it's flagrant, somebody just literally, you can see it, picks him up, slams him down, they'll call it then. But I'm like you, I've only seen it called a couple times, and it's very obvious. It's what we consider, if you were to run that play in a bar full of men and women, and everybody in that bar goes, that's a foul, they're going to call it. But if it's one of those that, I don't know, then it's probably one like they're going to let them play it out. Yeah, you got to remember on plays like that, you got how many people in a pile up? There may be 5 people, 6 people all right there. You're probably going to have 2 officials officiating it, and it's real easy for somebody to get by with something like that because you got the ball coming down, you got officials looking at the ball, the catch, and so it's real easy something like that to be overlooked on.
So everybody gives refs grief for being blind and terrible and all that, but majority of them are very, very fine, very good at what they do. Question is, if there is one that doesn't do their job correctly, and you said you have meetings and you have grading scores and all that, who tells them they can't be a referee?
We have a supervisor of officials in the SEC, and he is the controlling factor in that. And if somebody, you have a bad game, everybody has a bad game. Everybody wakes up one morning and for some reason, you got a bunch of stuff going on in your head, and you can't go out and officiate a football game and not be totally focused. I mean, if I told you all the stuff I had to do prior to the snap, you'd go, wow, how do you even know where you're going? And I'll tend to that just in a second. But people don't whenever you mess up though, you're evaluated, and if it's a consistent thing, then you don't get invited back. They're all independent contractors. And so if you don't get invited back, it's because of that. So.
Tim, you've been at this a long time, and in the time you've been in it, I know it has changed dramatically. But I know how my dad would feel about this. Instant replay.
Yeah.
And now with the fact that they've got the cameras that can pick up the hair on their arm as they hit the ground and all that kind of stuff, has that affected how you call a game?
With me, it didn't. I called it the same way. I didn't get wrapped up in any of that. Well, I know I've got replay to back me up now. I want to make that call. You know, and if anything, if you're in business, you know, you want that big decision. You want to be the one to make that decision. That's the reason you're here at Rotary, because you're one of those folks that are a leader. And you want that. And I can always say in the course of a ball game, if I knew it was getting late, I wanted that play at my pylon, me making that call. I wanted that. And I think by doing that, that just is the way you have to be. You got to. But the game has changed so much. Your dad would look at it and go, "What in the world are they doing?" You know, back in the old days, you'd see that the end men would be lined up maybe 2 yards from the widest receiver. We did that now, we get killed because Tennessee snaps the ball every 8 seconds. You know, you think about that. We got a play going. We're officiating the play. We're coming back. We're spotting the ball. I'll give you, just for me, my keys are, I'm watching the center put the ball down. I'm making sure we only have 4 in the backfield. I've got to watch the tackle. I got to watch the wide receiver. I got to make sure the defense aren't in the neutral zone. I'm doing all that in less than 7 seconds. That's a lot to be looking at. Plus, like we were telling somebody else, and plus I got a coach back here that's helping me the whole time.
Do you ever get so flustered from a coach yelling in your ear that you just want to let them have it or make calls against them? That's the first question.
Yeah.
The second is, how often do you get escorted by police?
Every game we get escorted by police. As far as I can't do that. As an official, you cannot let them know that they got to. And I've got some photos, and you'll see just coaches, you know, and all those coaches are yelling at me. I've just got this look on my face like, okay. I cannot, as official, ever let them know that they got in my head, because at that point I lose. I've lost total control of the sideline. You know, and I've got some dear friends that are still coaches, high school, college, and every time I see them, I'll refer to them as coach. I never refer to them by their first name. Jeff Rutledge is a dear friend of mine, but when we're out somewhere, it's always, "How you doing, coach?" You know, it's just, I give them that kind of respect, always have and always will. But I don't want to, you can't let them do that. It's like in business, you know, you got a bad customer. The worst thing you can do is yell back at them, right? You got to, you know, you got to be that calming effect out there in the middle of chaos. So, you know, I want to be that duck. I may be paddling like heck underneath, but when you look at me up here, I'm going to be calm. And there's an art to it, you know, because when you got people that are questioning your integrity, yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs, and you got 100,000 people booing you, it's easy to kind of lose your composure, but you can't. You just can't. That will get you fired quicker than anything, is by losing your temper with the coach.
Okay, I'm going to follow up on Betsy's a little bit. There seems to be an epidemic of apologies by the SEC officiating office and even the NCAA of bad calls and replay booths getting them wrong against certain teams, Arkansas. And I was wondering, do those people still have jobs? I guess that's the best I get.
How can I say this and be diplomatic about it? Replay is not perfect. You would think it would be, but it's not perfect. It needs a lot of work. It really does. You know, I'm sitting there now. I'm like you. I watch a game. I can't watch a game like you would watch it. You know, my interpretation of watching a game is, people say I can't watch a game with you because you're totally something totally different. Because I'm looking at positions. I'm looking at where they are. You know, we're watching an NFL game the other day, and I'm looking over and I'm going, man, that looks like a pretty good hold right there. And you know, Tricia, well, they didn't call that. And about that time, you know, you see on the TV flag, and how did you see that? It's just what you do. You just look for that type of stuff. But replay needs to be fixed. There's some talk of making replay nationally so that the replay guys will all go to one centrally located where it's in Indianapolis or Charlotte or something, and they'll do it all. It just seems like if they do that, it's just going to complicate things drastically. You got too many things, and there's talk about making all the officials all being part of one group. It's just it's in a mess right now. And personally, somebody told me that said the reason that replay is messed up is because they're not taking older guys like me and putting them in the booth to do stuff like that. And my answer is, I don't know that I want to do that. Simply because of the fact, if you were to tell me, look, Tim, you're going to get with so-and-so, and I had real good chemistry with that person, it might be something that would be good to do. But if they're putting me in a booth and then they say, we're going to hire this guy who's never worked a down in college football and put him in the replay booth with you, I'd go crazy. I'd go crazy. And to be in a space about as big as Nathan and I during that time, having to be there 12 weeks with somebody that you really don't trust or don't know all that well, just that doesn't appeal to me. But they got to do something, because I agree with you. I watch it play and I'm going, I don't even know what target is. I really don't. And they've tried to make the rules so they don't want to throw people out. But coaches, there's no coaches in here, are they? They got to do a better job teaching how to tackle what they got to do. In my opinion, that's safety for the players and.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I believe I understand why they don't throw the flag on intentional grounding, but is there a written rule? Quarterback gets the ball and spikes it. That's the definition of intentional grounding. They never call it. I know, is there a written rule why they don't call it?
Here, I'll go over just real brief about the grounding rule. If I take the ball and it's an immediate snap to me, I can, whether I'm in shotgun or underneath, if I take it and it's immediate to the ground, I can kill the clock. That's spike. That is an intentional spike that's been in the rule books. That is legal. For a quarterback, once he gets outside the tackle box, so you envision the two tackles, the two guards in the center. Once a quarterback gets outside of that, he can throw it away. He can throw it up in the stands. He can throw it as long as it gets across the line of scrimmage. If it doesn't get across the line of scrimmage, then you've got intentional grounding. That's the reason you'll see, if you see a play like that, you usually see the end man, the headline or the line judge, will come running in and they'll tell him whether ball crossed the line of scrimmage or there was a receiver in the area. Now, if there's a receiver in the area and he throws it at his feet, that's okay, because he's actually a receiver in the area. But they can ground it. If they get outside the tackle box, they can throw it out of bounds, but it needs to be beyond the line of scrimmage.
Him on the infamous injury fall down at the end of the game sometime when somebody's driving, or they're looking to do anything about control.
They are.
I mean,
And-
it's a famous
and-
picture of a guy, everybody lines up ready to snap it and fall down.
I'm telling you, I've been in games and I've had coaches holler, get down, get down. I mean, I know exactly what they're doing. They're doing it. But do I, as a football official, do I know if that guy's actually hurt or not? And if I say, I'm gonna flag him for that, and this guy gets over to the sideline, and he got hit 3 plays earlier, and his concussion's still going, so we have no way of knowing. So that it's just flopping. NCAA has put a rule in this year that when there were an instance like that, it was sent up to Steve Shaw, who was the guy that was in that first slide teaching. They sent it to him and he looks at the film and then determines what to do. What he does, I don't know, but they are looking at it. But let me give you an example though of why the other part of that. So we got a team that goes, they're snapping the ball every 7 seconds. And I got a player who kind of tweaks his ankle. Now, when I was playing, they said, you don't lay down on the field. You kind of get off the field best you can. So now I got Tennessee over here. They're getting ready to snap it. And I'm hobbling off the field. Okay. So now I've got to get a player in to substitute for me.
And during this process, because I'm trying to do the right thing, they're getting ready to snap the ball. So I'm a man down. So coaches, that's what initiated all this to begin with. They said, if you're hurt, go ahead and go down. Let us come out, treat you so we can get a sub in the game. That's where it all started. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to do something to try to clean it up, but that's the reason that it all started, because you got a player that's hurt, not hurt bad, but he's hurt trying to get off. And they're snapping them all in 7 seconds because they didn't substitute. So coaches are just, that's the reason they're telling them, you're hurt, go ahead and go down, let us come through. But there are a lot of that are just doing it so they can get a lineman in there because they're tired.
Okay, so I know you said before, and I know this is true, that most important thing is to have control of the game. What are the indicators that you look for when you've got two teams, probably rivals, that are getting, as they say on TV, they're getting chippy and they're starting they're always trash talk, but where do you start to say, okay, guys, we need to calm because they're about ready to fight or have a brawl?
Usually you can do it just like you do your kids. If you're there in front of them, they're usually calmed down a little bit. So if I got a wide receiver and a defensive back that are talking and back and forth after the play, I'm going to go up to them. I'm going to walk up to both of them and usually this is the answer I'll get. Oh man, we played high school together, or he's my cousin or something like that. They're playing you the whole time. But they're guys that literally they're talking trash every play. And you look at them and go, and they'll just smile at you. Most of the time they don't. I've had the Egg Bowl, and there's been a fight every year. I had the Egg Bowl, so that's the Ole Miss Mississippi State game. There was always a fight. You just didn't know when it was coming. And then there were times like we had before the kickoff. They both run down. I'm between them, so I've got 50 players on one side, 50 on the other, and me and another guy standing in the middle. And they were just pointing and pushing, and I'm right in the middle of it. And after it was over, they separated, coach put them back, and we said, well, if they wanted to fight, they would have fought. It's just, they were just down there. They knew the game, they knew the situation. So, but yeah, usually if you can get there with them, talk to them, do a little preventive officiating, I call it, it usually works out.
You spoke about Tennessee before with their fast-paced offense, and there's other teams that's playing a faster pace than they did years ago. It just seems to me like other conferences don't spot the ball quick and let the play start. And I'm just wondering if you guys in the SEC, do you know that about some teams in the SEC that play fast?
Well, here's the rule on it, and so you probably don't notice it. There are very few teams in the SEC now that huddle. Very few. They'll get up to the line and they'll start doing the count, and then they'll look around and do all this stuff. Well, the rule says once the play's down and the referee spots the ball, because the play clock is what initiated all this. So if I'm running the ball and I get tackled, I'm coming in to officiate. I put my hand up, there's a 40-second play clock that starts. Okay. And then, so once that does, they put the ball down. Once we put the ball down, it's over. They can do whatever they want to snap the ball. So that's how it's supposed to be done. And we would wait till the chains got there. They don't even wait till the chains get down. If you get a first down on a long play, if we spot it, they're ready to go. They don't substitute. Now, if they substitute, it's a different story. You'll see the referee, if the offensive team gets a first down and they substitute, you'll see the referee do this right here. And you think, what is he doing? Well, what he's doing is he's saying, look, we're not going to snap the ball until I let the defense react to the substitution. So that's what you'll see. You'll see the center judge will go up and he'll get right behind the center, tell him, don't snap it till I get out of it. And so that's kind of how we manage time now because of the play clock situation. But if they run and get a first down, they don't substitute as soon as we put the ball down, they can go. So the other conferences may not have teams that do it, so they may get a little lax about it. But I can tell you that the ACC, when they had the SEC teams, I talked to a couple of guys that said, I've never gone that fast in my life. And that's true fact. It's just they go fast.
When you meet on Friday evening and review film of both teams.
Yep.
What are you looking for?
We do scout stuff, tendencies like formations. So as an end man, I want to know if they're gonna do any unbalanced line stuff, if they're gonna, and I may be talking over your head, so I'll try not to be too technical, but they any unbalanced, whether they're gonna do any confronts of guys, if they're gonna run a lot of trips, if they're gonna run a lot of motion, if they do any type shuttle pass stuff. I want to know that prior to the game. And I was doing it long enough that I knew that when that formation, I actually, we look at it like we would if we were the defense officiating or working the game. So we do it to determine. So when I see that formation come up, I know this is normally a passing force. This is normally a running. I can literally look at the tackle on the offensive line and tell you if it's going to be a running play or a passing. Because you'll see the actual tackle cheat a little bit so they can get back in the backfield pass. So you can see that if a guy's going to pull, you'll see him kind of sit back a little bit. So this just something over the course of the years that you pick up on.
Game crews, game assignments. Do the groups ever politic to get the Alabama Auburn game versus the Vanderbilt Austin P game, something like that?
Every year. But what I'm saying is the commissioner assigned it, so we have no choice on where we go or what games we get. But everybody wants that big CBS game. But I will tell people though that for those of me that have had those games, when other people, the younger guys getting into the league, they say, "Oh man, I can't wait till I get that game." I said, "Wait a minute. When you get those games, you got to remember you're very highly visible then. So if you have any flaws in your game, it will show up." And I had a statement that I always said about young guys getting in, that maybe got in somewhere officiating before they were quite ready. The game will find it, and it will find it. And you can always see that guy that's not been there as long, has that tough call. And I call it becomes a pumpkin head. So when I look across the line, I see this guy that just blew a call. I'm looking in and I'm getting nothing. This guy is 3 plays ago. He has no idea what play he's getting ready to run because he's still thinking about that play he made. And good officials, they just kind of come up with something and say, "Look, I got to get that. There's no." So, Sure. Yeah. I don't mind saying I'm a Christian, and I was so glad to see that there were so many people on a knee during that time. That was nice to see, considering the NFL a couple of years ago had so much controversy the other way. So props to them for doing what should be.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to revisit my question from earlier. You glossed over it. Maybe you can't talk about it, but have you ever had threats, or is that usually reserved for the referee? Or
Yeah, I have. Not many though. Not many. But I have. You know, referees usually get. We had a guy, and I don't mind saying it. Mark Curls. Mark Curls was a really good referee in the SEC. He's a center judge now. But if anything was going to go bad in a game, it went bad in a Mark Curls game. It just happened. I don't know if it was. You know, he had one play that he did, but the rest of the time had nothing to do with him. It was somebody else made a bad call, and poor Mark, it just hung over him like a cloud. And so now he's moved from referee to center judge and is loving it, but he's not under all that stress. And people don't do that. But my old referee was Tom Ritter, and you want to see some really bad things about people said about referees, just go Google Tom Ritter, SEC guy. You'll see pictures of him wearing an Alabama hat, just all kinds of stuff, you know. But there was not any better than him. Maybe Mr. Kane may have been right there with him.
So when y'all are evaluated, so post game during the week or post season over the course of the season, did you find that the SEC, particularly your experience with the SEC, would try to keep crews somewhat homogenous that ended up doing or being graded very well? Or did you often find the intent was the opposite? No, let's take all these really good folks in their positions and spread them around into different crews?
It's usually a spread around. Now, you will see, normally there's one or two crews that are usually, if you'll notice, if you have the big games, you'll see the same crew kind of over and over a couple times, but there's about two or three go-to crews and, but they're all good officials.
Yeah, one of the unfortunate things about life is that we often don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. I was like that with Leach, and I'm just wondering if you have any stories, Mike Leach stories, where everybody assumes that he's arguing about a call, but he's really asking you if you believe in Bigfoot.
Probably my favorite coach all times was Les Miles because he was so all over the place. But Coach Leach was a unique man. Yeah, for those of you who don't know it, he was an attorney, just a brilliant man. But when you talk to him, you never know what he's going to say. He really didn't. I had him in one game, and he's asking me, "Where'd that guy go to college?" I know he's a spy. He's a spy. Where'd he go to college? And I'm saying, "Coach," I say, "he didn't go there. He wouldn't be officiating the game." He goes, "Are you sure?" I'm pretty sure. And then we were sitting there during one TV timeout, and he asked me, he said, so what's your favorite king?" All right. So I think I said, like, my wife likes Snickers, so we eat Snickers at home. So he went on this thing about peanuts and I'm sitting there, "Coach, we're getting ready to but that's the way he was. He was just but a brilliant man. He really was. Well, there's a lot more crews in the NFL. And the numbering is for their film grade stuff. And because there's so many crews, they do them all by number. So when they see the play, they go 53. That's because of their grading process.
Okay. Couple of questions. So of all the rules that I guess we have or about to have, which one, maybe a rule that you think that should be eliminated or a rule that you think that should be added that you think?
There's no doubt. The low block rule needs to be changed. High school, they get it. In high school, you cannot block low unless it's initial line play. In the college game, it's really weird. It's like once you get outside the tackle, and if you're going toward the ball or going away from the ball, and so now we're having to officiate this with 22 players running around. Where did he come from? Where's all this? But high school, they do it right. You cannot block below the waist. It's a safety thing. You got some of these big guys coming out, clipping some people at the knees. That's just, but initial line play, if I'm a guard and you're a defensive guard, I can go low on you all the time. I'm not getting any momentum to hit you. But the low block rule needs to change. And I don't know about targeting. They've changed it. It used to be crown of the helmet. Now they said crown of the helmet above here. And I'm just, come on, guys, it's safety. Teach them how to tackle. But I'll look at a play on Saturday and I'm going, man, that's target. He lit him up. You see the guy staggering and get up. And I will tell you this, and you watch any game, you see a guy that gets hit in the head and he goes to the ground. And the first thing you see, his hands come up. Concussion. Just you can bet on it every time. You see them go on their back and their hands go up. Concussion. So if you're watching your little kids play on Saturday and you see that happening, make sure somebody goes in there and says, "Look, he needs to come out." Because you can tell. Because I've had plenty playing concussions, and back then it's I'll just rub some dirt on it, going back. But now it's.
And my last question is, and so I'm curious, kind of two parts. So curious to who your favorite team is, and then also too, I mean, you love the sport. You guys you have to have a team. I'm sure. Like, did you just prevent yourself from ever refereeing those games? Because
I really don't.
You don't? Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think
I really don't.
You don't?
I
Okay.
don't. I've got a son-in-law that's a huge UT fan. I got another son-in-law that's a Duke basketball fan, and they can tell you every player on every team and where they went to high school and all this stuff. And I'm just like, somebody asked me, said, well, how did so-and-so Jones do on Saturday? And I said, what was his number? And I said, well, he's number 85. I said, well, I didn't have a flag on him, so he must have done all right. I just don't, I never did let myself become that fan. And I don't think you can in this because, I just see a dark colored jersey and a light colored jersey. And this will be hard for you to believe, but every game I walked off the field, I never knew the score. I never knew the score. I knew who won, but I never knew the score because it had nothing to do with me. I didn't keep track of it. I have enough stuff to do. So I never paid any attention to it. We get in the van and that's when I'd know what the score was. Yeah, I think it's that way. That's that way. We get in the van riding back and they'll say, well, we had 7 fouls here. We had 7 fouls there. I couldn't tell you how many fouls, or any of that stuff. But you have so much stuff you have to focus on that the little things like that, like score, I couldn't tell you. I knew who won, but that was about it.
So my question, I used to do sport photography for football, high school and college. And I'm glad you talked about being hit because I've been hit. And in high school, I had a negative huddle actually because the kids took the video and they're like, look at your mom. She went flying. So I mean, it's funny. I always got along really well with referees, but my question is, and from my perspective, and probably it's a girl thing, but did the smell ever get to you? Because it really got to me sometimes.
There's no doubt locker rooms are horrible. I don't care where you go, whether it's, Alabama or Tennessee or Ole Miss or wherever, they're awful. They're worse if you go to Ravenwood or Brentwood High and walk into their locker room. They're worse there, but it is. I don't pay attention to that. I mean, you. What I will tell you though is every now and then you'll get some guy that really thinks he needs a lot of cologne on, and he'll walk by me and it's not. They're gonna be glad to have you in the huddle. Maybe so. Maybe so.
Tim, I have to compliment you on watching your cues as you were watching me go around the room. So thank you for that. Finally, we have Larry with an observation, I think. Larry.
Yeah. The National Football Association gave an Art Demas Award, and I won that a few years ago. So I know Art, and you're exactly right. What an outstanding human being. And he lives here in Nashville. So yeah.
Thank you enough.
Thank y'all very much.
And as a gift, what we do is we read to first graders, and what we want to do is get you to sign this, and when you sign it, we'll tell them about you and what you've done and how much we appreciate you speaking today. So if you would sign this at the table and leave that for us, we appreciate it. Welcome again to everybody, and appreciate you coming today. It's a big crowd, great program. Don't forget Little Harpeth tomorrow. Very important. Help Patrick over at the library. 8:30, Patrick. 8-ish. Okay. And there will be a meeting of the BRCCF right after this back in the boardroom. And any other announcements right now? Zach? All right. Way to go, membership. Of course, since I'm up here, there's got to be a quote, right? But in the meantime, while that's getting ready, if you would please do the tables and clean up like we normally do. Appreciate all your help, and so does the Martin Center. And since we're going into Valentine's Day, I thought I would just add a very romantic quote here by Bob Hope. So y'all make sure that you don't throw kisses, give kisses. Is there any other thing for the good of Rotary? If not, we are adjourned.